The hour leading up to sunrise is a really special time in the yogic tradition. It's known as Brahm Muhurt, the time of Brahma, the creator. For me, after I finish practice, I study and try to learn some new things, grow in my development. Today we're talking about pranayama and the importance of the posture in pranayama. When this is controlled, any slight motion of the body or even a tendency to movement will be recorded in your consciousness. However, by prolonged practice, a state of undisturbed consciousness in conjunction with the motionlessness of the body can be maintained for a desired period. This is posture control. In that quote I just read from Laya Yoga, they're talking about how once the posture is developed enough to where someone can sit and remain calm and steady, then we can turn our attention towards pranayama and the cultivation of the life force. There's a couple more key passages that I want to read to you, and then I will share some of my tips and my own personal practices. And lately I've been developing the practice of Nadi Shodhana, the alternate nostril breath. And I want to talk a little bit more about that, talk about what I eat in a day, and just kind of give you a little bit of a understanding of my daily life and the developmental processes that I am going through to learn and grow, and stories of a yogi. It is said a well-controlled student should control the 5 forms of bioenergy by breath suspension. Inspiration should precede suspension, and expiration through the nostril should follow suspension. When the throbbing of the bioenergy is controlled by breath control, the mind, which is naturally restless to an extreme degree, becomes fit and should be made to undergo the process of dharana, which should be done in the right way by the student who knows the secret of doing it. Svatashvatara Upanishad. So that's dharana. And dharana is said to unfold as part of the process of the path of yoga when the asana and the pranayama and the pratyahara are all established in the yogi. The concentration just comes naturally and easily. And so how this relates to pranayama as bioenergy control, which is how this book refers to it. I would refer to it as the control of the life force or the restraint of the life force. We start to, through the regulation of the breathing process and the regulation of respiration, and specifically with the kumbhakas and the breath suspension, the mind will become more still and more calm. And that allows the internalization of the senses, the pratyahara. And then when the internalization of the senses, they're no longer reaching out into the world, then concentration happens. And now the sun is coming out. Check it out. I just want to show you how the sun rises here. It's about 6:40. And and it's really beautiful time of day where just the sun is sort of painting the landscape gold. You hear the birds. Rah, rah. So cool. All right, let's finish our study and then we'll practice some more. A practice that I've been doing for the past 2 years, a little more than 2 years, Nadi Shodhana, which is the alternate nostril breathing. I started a daily practice of this, when was that, 2023? I think somewhere around May 2023.
Holding in for 16, tuck the chin, lengthen through the back of the neck.
And I was building over time and really building my capacity with the breath and the breath ratio and lengthening the kumbhaka, the breath suspension, and noticing how this influences my meditation practice. But also the idea of Nadi Shodhana is the purification of the nadis. That's what that word means. Nadi, the rivers of energy flowing through the body, and then Shodhana, purify. And so I really wanted to understand this practice, and I wanted to receive the benefits of the consistency and developing it over time. And I noticed, since the past 2 years that I've been doing it and slowly building it to the point that it's at today, that the benefits they've accumulated and continued to develop my mind and develop my sensitivity to energy and the stability in my body, which is also something that I've been working on for a while, is how to really create a firm and stable body and posture to handle larger amounts of energy flowing through it. It's like how to slowly stretch the capacity of the nervous system and the capacity of the breath, which really regulates, in my experience, it's regulating all of the systems in my body. And pranayama, it's like the secret, to more advanced yoga practices and gaining control over the mind and the impulses of the senses and all of the things that I think that the path of yoga can really offer. We're going to talk about pranayama, breathing. Yeah, that's what I want to share a little bit about today, and I'll be editing a video that I'll be making for you. So that's what I'm doing. River time. Yeah, let's take a journey into the life force. Oof. Yeah. All right, so with pranayama, one of the things that I'm always working on is, one, the stability of my body, the stability of my seat, the asana. And so all of the physical training and postures that I do and that we do in the yoga practice is really meant to cultivate a strong spine, a spine that can be vertical and can hold itself when we're sitting flat on the ground in a cross-legged position. And with that, with the development of the seat and the development of the posture, the inner mechanisms start to become more available. Those inner mechanisms are known as bandhas. The bandhas in Hatha Yoga talk about the energetic locks or the energetic seals. And one of the definitions that I learned a while ago from one of my teachers is that the bandhas are ties. So this is a definition that I like to use for bandha. As opposed to lock, it's a tie. It ties together the energy and holds that energy in a continuous thread or a continuous line. And we're working with the kundalini and working with the evolutionary life force, the Shakti. That energy needs a container. It needs something to hold and channel it. Otherwise it will leak and escape. And with the bandhas, we learn to create a container for the energy, for the life force. So with Nadi Shodhana, which I'll practice here in a moment,
it's been a long time and a long process of cultivating that. One, the awareness of what I was mentioning earlier, the importance of the stability of the seat to be able to channel the energy. And then two, the nuances and the subtleties of the bandhas. And yeah, I'll share more about that in other videos, but I think that for now, that's sufficient. So let's practice. Finished my morning river dip and also a little pranayama practice. The second one, usually I do 2 in the morning and then sometimes 1 to 2 in the afternoon, evening. And the practice I did today down at the river was to demonstrate the practice of Nadi Shodhana. And in the video you can see the ratio that I'm using. I'm inhaling for a count of 8. I'm going to suspend or hold the breath, known as a kumbhaka, for a count of 32. And then I'm going to exhale, rechaka, for a count of 16. And I start by doing 3 breaths like that, inhaling in the left, holding, and then exhaling out the right nostril. And then I switch after 3 rounds like that, and I go inhale right nostril, hold, exhale left, do 3 like that. And then once I've done inhale left, exhale right, exhale left, I now add those 2 together and I inhale left, hold, exhale right, hold, exhale left. And remember, you're in the camera, it's mirrored, so I'm going like this, but this is my left nostril. So inhale left, hold, exhale, inhale right, hold, exhale. And do 3 rounds like that. And the goal is to be able to do each breath with the same ratio without straining or forcing. And if I can do that whole sequence, it takes me about 10 minutes to do that. But the preparation and like I was sharing earlier about the asanas and developing the stable seat, and also the work with the bandhas and some of the kriyas that we do, those help to set up that ratio for that duration without the strain, without the force. Because if it starts to become forced or challenging and the mind starts, like, we don't want to do that when it comes to pranayama. It's a very subtle practice, and it's very precise, I guess you could say, refined. So we are refining the life force, the subtle energy of our body, which animates this prana. They say it animates all of the senses. So all of our eyes, our ears, our nose, our mouth, our skin. These are our sense organs, and they are how we interpret the world. And a lot of times if they aren't trained, then those senses are constantly looking for stimulus. And this is what creates distraction in the mind and scattered energy. And so what we're doing with the practices of yoga, not just pranayama, but the whole system of yoga, is learning to channel and harness, right? One of the translations for the word yoga means to yoke. And so we're learning to yoke or to harness the precious energy of the life force and direct it into a single concentrated focal point. And that's really that's where the fruits of the practices, all of the practices, start to reveal themselves, when we can get that laser beam of focus. Yeah, cool. All right, so I'm cutting up some papaya for breakfast. Yum. This is the first meal that I'll have in the day. It's almost 10 a.m. Usually eat about this time.
And yeah, stuff is so good. Yum. And we compost here, so I'm gonna take all the scraps. I'm gonna put them in the compost pit. Oh, check it out. What? Yeah, cool. So I just came out here to toss out the compost and notice this guy. Looks like an acorn squash. This is the vine here. It's been growing. Look, it's flowering. You can see it growing all over. And that's the compost pit. So I'm imagining that one of the seeds that we put in there sprouted, and now we have more food. Look at that. Death turns into life. Here as well. It's like all around the compost there. Papaya. So good. With my breakfast, I find that fruit is really supportive to the process of working with the breath, working with the subtle energy. My sense as to why, well, there's a couple reasons. I like to keep it light. Like, first part of the day is to stay with fruits or goat milk. Sometimes I drink goat milk, but just super light breakfast and meals early on to keep myself mostly empty, so that when I come to do my practices, I can have that emptiness. And I find that this is really, really beneficial, especially when working with the bandhas. And since the bandhas are a key part of pranayama, I try to, honor that, because in my system, I find that there's a great difference in my capacity for the kumbhakas, the depth and the quality of my work with the bandhas, which of course influences my kumbhaka. And papaya is abundant here in Costa Rica, and it's just such a so good, so hydrating, supportive. So that's what I have for breakfast. So, the question I'm always asking is like, well, why am I doing these things? What is the point of having 2 or 3 or 4 practices a day? And I just keep discovering, and I keep coming back to the realization that the benefits that I'm seeking, and like the life that I want to live, or the life that I feel inspired by, and like the person that I feel inspired to become, there are many layers to that. You know what I mean? It's like there's a journey, there's a spiritual journey, right? Of my soul, of becoming, of evolving, of growing. And that journey of the soul, that journey of becoming who I'm meant to be, and that living the life that I'm meant to live. Like, I want to approach the way that I practice and the way that I develop myself, and the tools that I use, and the techniques. I want to approach them with as much reverence, I guess you could say, and understanding of where they're coming from, and what are the traditional teachings, like of yoga, and the science behind that. I feel really connected to that somehow, and that as I've
gone through my own process of development, which is ongoing, you know, and part of the reason why I'm creating these videos is to share that process with you and to connect to you and your process around that, because I feel like there's a lot of, I don't know, misinformation out there of what the path of yoga really looks like, and it's becoming a fad, and the practices, like the traditional practices, are not really sexy. You know what I mean? It's like to sit down and do hours of pranayama every day is not, doesn't appear sexy. It doesn't look attractive, but the results, the inner attainment, yeah, that's real, and that feels like valuable somehow. And I want to share that. You know, I want to share my own process and my own experimentation and the results and the benefits with others who are also feeling like there's something more to this path. And I was sharing with a friend the other day, like, I want to make yoga cool, you know, I want to make the wisdom science cool, and to like encourage people to become spiritual scientists, you know what I mean, and like approach this technology from a space of like curiosity and inspiration, and not seeing them as just like isolated things, you know, just breath work or just posture training or just stretching, but like part of a complete system of transformation and evolution. Yeah, I just think that it's really cool that we have access to these incredible teachings and incredible technologies, and yeah, I feel stoked about that, and I feel stoked to get to practice every day, and I feel stoked to get to little by little, you know, 1% at a time, just through the consistency, through the effort, through the attention, to slowly refine and create a more robust nervous system and a more focused mind and a stronger body, but not like muscle strong, but like, you know, a strong spine and a strong holding, you know, of energy, a strong container of energy. And that's what I think the bandhas do, and the development of kumbhaka. And this is why I say that I don't see breathwork as pranayama. I see it as something far deeper, and with so much respect to the process that it brings. And yeah, it's cool. You know, I think it's really cool. So thanks for joining me for another episode of Stories of Yogi. It's been a pleasure to share with you a little bit about my life. I really hope you all are enjoying these little video logs, vlogs, I think they call them. And I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Remember to subscribe if you want to stay in tune for the next yoga practice, tutorial, or vlog. Let's keep on growing together. Peace.